What's going on, everybody? It's your boy C-Zar, and we are talking about Bitcoin today. It is the second day of June, sorry, July, second day of July, and here we are at about $61.2 thousand with roughly 11 hours and 25 minutes left in the day. Hit that like button, subscribe. Thank you all for being here. What a crazy turn of events in the past 24 hours. We haven't moved up too much. We're up 2%, but still, relative to the past week, this is actually a pretty solid day, back-to-back growth here. Whenever we've seen some inconsistent behavior, we're actually getting some very consistent, decisive behavior right now. It's completely possible that we have the low in, a relative low in, and that we move up higher. Again, as we've been saying throughout this whole range, we're probably in a consolidation phase. And yesterday I was saying that we could go down to 57, maybe even 54K. We could be seeing something like that in the midst of this consolidation range. But man, this double bottom, this slightly lower low here that we had, definitely psyched me out. I'm sure it psyched a lot of people out. And if we're looking at this here on the liquidation map over the past 24 hours, it's gotten a lot of people to go long, and a lot of shorts have been decimated. I do wonder if we'll come back down and clear out these longs. I do wonder if that'll happen. Just because there's more longs and shorts doesn't mean we have to. There's still this island down to 57 to 56K that could be cleared out. But, I mean, we've prodded that island. We've prodded that liquidity. We've been in that liquidity a few times throughout the past week, and we just can't seem to push through. So maybe we do have a low. Maybe we are going to move up higher. I want to look at the short-term stuff. I want to look at the 1 hour time frame and zoom out and just see what the charts are telling us. It is completely possible that from here we are rallying up to prices that are again back at $70,000 to $75,000, that original target area we had throughout this range. Yesterday, although we were bearish, I did say that we would flip bullish if we got a 4 hour time frame to cross above $60,000. So, even though we're at 61.4K now, we've been bullish since then, at least momentarily bullish. Let's look at the short-term stuff and see if there's any reasons to continue that bullishness or maybe perceive some bearishness. Is this... Oh, it's pre-market. Oh, no. It just hasn't loaded. That's why we're going to do that. Anyways, 1 hour time frame. As you're moving up here, you had a nice push, right? A lot of volume. Nice push. As you're moving up, volume seems to be dying off. You're getting some volume, though, here and there. I don't know. It doesn't look bad. It's not such low volume that I couldn't see this going higher, but I don't know. This last few hours is making me a little bit skeptical, I suppose. The RSI getting overbought, now rejecting the overbought zone. You're kind of rolling over with your RSI like this. Yeah, I could see you coming down. It doesn't necessarily mean that we go lower, but just down from here. Maybe you form, from a low to a high. You retrace, and then you continue to move up. Maybe we go right back down to about 59K, and then we move up. I don't know. RSI suggests that we'd go lower. Stochastics are overbought. They look really good, but you're at this overbought point. I wouldn't think that we push higher immediately. We are pushing higher here, and we're just not getting any volume, any follow-through. It makes you think that we're going to go down. The stock market opening could impact that. The MACD, I will say, is a bullish thing to observe here because you're killing that bullish momentum, and now you're actually starting to... Is it increasing now? I guess it is still technically at a lower level. Technically, it is at a lower level. So depending on how this hour ends and depending how the next hours go, if we start building bullish momentum, that would actually be a really positive sign from the 1 hour MACD in this very positive environment overall for these indicators. But you are kind of at a fickle moment where you could maybe send to that next level, or perhaps you are at a point of resistance. I'm leaning more toward that point of resistance at the moment, but we'll see. If we find resistance, that doesn't mean that we see a lower low. Maybe we do. But what it would mean probably is that we see a standard retracement, maybe down to about 60.6K to 59.2, 58.9K, somewhere, in this range. That'd be my expectation, at least. 4 hour RSI starting to look bullish. I mean, yeah, it's breaking the chains of this lower high dynamic. You've got a higher low, higher high dynamic. For what it's worth, though, in this higher high, higher low dynamic, you are at a point of where you might find resistance. So again, that doesn't mean that we see a lower low. It just would mean that we come down from here, or at the very least chill before pushing higher, right? And here you're at the upper end of this kind of trend, and whenever you found resistance, you chilled, you moved sideways, and then you found support at the lower end of that trend, and then you continue to bump higher. It doesn't necessarily mean that you crash, right? It just means you're not moving up for the time being. The 4-hour MACD, man, is throwing me for a spin. Definitely looking bullish here. Definitely looking bullish here. Looking like you want to cross above the 0, which is phenomenal. Stochastics look great. RSI looks pretty good. They all look good. That doesn't mean that we have this happening right now. Maybe it does. But I'm suspicious that we might see some type of retracement first, find support where we found support before on a closing basis, and then continue moving higher. So perhaps one more push back below 60K, maybe even below 59K, maybe, in that area, and then we push higher, if I had to guess. And that might happen today, that we move down and move up. Or maybe we just push right now and we're sending it to $62,500. There are, if we look at this here over the past week, there is this island of shorts that gets cleared out at about $62,500 to $63,000. It's about $1.6 billion in shorts, so it can definitely happen. Over the past 30 days, longs are starting to pile on more. Shorts haven't really been affected over the past month. What they've got, they've always been right around $6.5 billion. So we clear out a good island of these shorts. We cleared out a massive amount of them at around 64K. So 62K, 64K, that is on the horizon. I suspect that we're going to be going there pretty soon. We look at this from a high to a low. 63.5K to 64.2K is right there at our golden ratio zone. So of this relative high from June to the low that we just had here in the 1st of July. So take that for what you will. Daily time frame, RSI starting to look bullish again, man. I mean, you looked bearish. You really did. You truly, I mean, I wouldn't change anything about yesterday's video. You really did look bearish. It was just the incorrect call, right? The TA was fine. The call was not. The TA can be proper and you're still wrong. That's how TA works, guys. That's why it's so frustrating for a lot of people, and they think that it's fugazi, because you can have things that make sense. You can have the right analysis, and even the right analysis can have the wrong end result, right? The wrong price prediction. Or maybe it still has the right end result. I don't know. I mean, at the moment, for the time being, the reversal we saw yesterday and the continuation that we're seeing today, if we can close like this, guys, this looks really good. This does look really good on the daily RSI. Looks really good on the stochastics as well. And the MACD, man, is just so inconsistent. MACD might not be helpful, and that's fair. We're choppy and sideways. That's actually pretty fair. Maybe the MACD doesn't really matter. What might matter is that we're far below the 0 with our oscillators. We've seen huge selling off. Maybe it's time to bounce a little bit. Maybe it's time to come up and recover. Maybe, So yeah, things look better. At the end of the day, you can take away a lot of this confusion, a lot of this anticipation, a lot of this indecisiveness if you just understand that every time we've seen the daily RSI at these low points throughout this bear market so far, we have seen a multi-month consolidation phase. We saw this low back here in early June. It's already been a month now. It's been about a month. We probably have another month or maybe more to go where we're consolidating. When we consolidate, pumps turn into dumps, turn into pumps, turn into dumps, turn into pumps, turn into dumps, right? That's just typically how it is. Right? You don't typically get this movement up here like this in this whole consolidation phase, but same thing here, right? Every pump gets dumped into, dumps get pumped into, and then we crash. And we are still in a bear market. Absolutely we are, right? Everybody had the markets convinced that we were not in a bear market anymore when we were up here. I was screaming from the top of my lungs that we were still in a bear market and we'd likely do go below this low at some point. I didn't think it'd be this fast. I definitely thought we'd bounce along the way. But throughout the whole time, very much believing that we're in a bear market and that we are going to go lower. And I still believe that here. Regardless of what we do, however it might look, I still believe we have lower to go. We probably do cross the threshold of $55,000 at some point later this year, and potentially even cross the threshold of 50K. As far as where's the bear market going to end, time-wise, late Q3, I mean, maybe next month, maybe August. If not, sometime in Q4. I expect by the end of this year. Price-wise, it's a bit more, it's kind of a broad range like the time is. Price, it could be anywhere. I doubt we go to 30K, but it could go to 30K or below 40K. It's possible. If I had to bet on it, I would bet that we don't go below 43K. We probably do go below 55K. But that's still a very big range. But anything can happen. This could be the bear market low. It's possible. I highly doubt it is, but it's possible. At any rate, we've got time to figure it out. I certainly believe that we are in a consolidation phase of sorts. Every pump will get dumped into, and then later in this month, July, or maybe even in August, we will break that floor. Maybe it's September, October that we actually break that floor, however long it takes. I've suspected, literally since the beginning days of this consolidation range, that we would see a smaller phase than this phase and a smaller phase than this phase. I've predicted that this would be the smallest consolidation that we've seen throughout the bear market so far. So time will tell. Nonetheless, looking pretty promising here. Do expect some short-term volatility, and then we probably are working our way up. Back on that bullish mode. That bearish mode was not even for a full 24 hours, guys. Here we are. Hit that like button, subscribe. Thank you all for being here. I'll see you on the next one. Take care. Bye-bye.